Today when I'm here, they are telling me that to pay 250. That's why I'm a surprise.
Vida, not her real name, is a middle-aged woman battling breast cancer. Her biggest worry now is she spent all her savings battling the disease. Now her business is on the verge of collapse.
All my money is finished. So yesterday when I came, they told me that the money is covered for insurance. So I'm glad that my money is okay for me. Today they told me that to pay the 250.
It's Vida's fifth time at the radiotherapy unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. She's being asked to pay 250 Ghana cedis before she's given medication. Even though she's covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme, she will not be administered the Herceptin injection until she pays the money. She's issued with an invoice containing facility user fees and chemo. The Global Cancer Incidence, Mortality and Prevalence, Globalcan, estimates that 16,000 cases of cancer occur annually in Ghana. In 2018, the Ministry of Health and the Swiss-based Roche Pharmaceuticals signed an agreement aimed at making Herceptin free for breast cancer patients under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Country Director of Roche, Philip Addison, said the partnership between government and the Swiss company was to eliminate the cost barriers faced by breast cancer patients in Ghana.
What we had given the government was supposed to be completely reimbursed by the NHIS, so that patients would not have to pay. So that money would not be a barrier for any woman or any patient who would need Herceptin for breast cancer.
But JoyNews checks reveal since November last year, health officials at the radiotherapy unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital have charged patients 3 different unapproved fees before administering the Herceptin injection. In one encounter, 2 patients were charged separate amounts, 250 Ghana cedis and 200 Ghana cedis. On the 14th of November last year, before assessing breast cancer medication, these monies were meant for facility user fees and chemotherapy, though none of the patients was offered chemotherapy. One of the patients we have decided to call Veronica said she sought explanation from the authorities at the radiotherapy unit of Kolebu on why she was charged for a treatment which was meant to be free. She was told the money was meant for consultation. She says,
there is another one looking at your condition. There is an injection they give you, and for that one, NHIS covers it, but they still let you pay some amount to cover part.
If NHIS covers it, then it suggests that you don't have to pay anything. Have you asked them why they are making you pay when it's supposed to be free?
When you ask them, they tell you the radiotherapy unit is not, they don't take NHIS. So for their consultation and other things, you have to pay for it.
I have seen on the receipt that there is a cost for chemo. When you take the injection, when you pay the 200 cedis, do they conduct chemo on you?
No.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Daniel Asari, says his office isn't aware of these charges and has not sanctioned them, but head of the radiotherapy unit of the hospital unapproved fees in November 2019. It means this delay Dr. Yani talks about has persisted for 5 months while patients were paying monies they weren't supposed to. Next, we traveled to the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi, to ascertain how the free breast cancer care program was being run there. We met Ajua Kunedu, not a real name. She's one of the breast cancer patients assessing care at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital. She was charged 60 Ghana cedis for breast cancer treatment.
And I was sick. I was saying, woman, panny. And I born no, Miss Rim. And I know I seen a boarding pa. And this I buy now, boy. I must have panny any day in Jiska. In Jiska, now what you mean, Sabia? Namako. Now what you mean,
Nti Obia and Jewiska a panny and home.
That's what they be. And once I make me food, I make chat and CD. Me chat and CD. Now me co-op and son make chat 20 CD. And I saw a 3 weeks in the best 3 days time, I saw 3 weeks in a son, my coil lab. And then me chat 30 CD. I'm at the co. It's made the coach doctor, and son, ya woman panny and so.
Ajua Kunedu was also not supposed to be charged these fees under the existing agreement. A report on the implementation of the project to include the Herceptin injection on the medicine list of the National Health Insurance Scheme added the injectable at a reimbursable cost of 3,914 Ghana cedis to radiotherapy units of Kolebu and Kath. Sources at the National Health Insurance Authority tell us these units of the hospitals make 300 Ghana cedis in excess profit per vial of the Herceptin injection they administer to breast cancer patients. Head of the Oncology Department of Kath, Dr. Osebonsu, disclosed the monies charged to breast cancer patients would go into the unit development fund. Clinical oncologist at Kath, Dr. Francis Margaret Williams, sheds more light on the rationale behind the fees charged breast cancer patients.
Every time a patient comes in to see a doctor, as in for a consultation, we have what we call a ward fund. The ward fund is meant to manage the place, as in you come, you want to use the washroom. After using the washroom, you need soap to wash your hands.
And the man himself is online, investigative journalist, lead reporter right here on JoyNews. And Kwete Nate is here. Kwete, good morning.
Good morning, Roland.
And very revealing. Charging for medicines and other forms of diagnosis and treatments, which purely is covered under the National Health Insurance Scheme. What was the rationale for these sort of actions?
So, in the case of Kolebu, when I spoke with the head of the oncology department there, he explained to me that it was because of delays on their part to communicate to the department not to charge these patients these fees. Because when I spoke to the National Health Insurance Authority, they told me that when they entered into the agreement with the 2 units in July last year, all those costs were absorbed under the arrangement they had with the unit. So when I started the investigation in November last year, the patients that I interacted with, those that I followed, I noticed on the receipt that they were being charged 200 cedis. Some were being charged 250 cedis. In fact, last week, I spoke to one of them, and she told me that now the fees that they are being charged is 50 cedis. And for Kolebu, the reason that they provided was that it was a delay in communication. But like I indicated, when I spoke to one of the breast cancer patients, they are still being charged. And over the period of the investigation till now, they've been charged 3 different unapproved fees. For cars, the rationale was that they claim that they sometimes need these monies to do other stuff like buying of soaps, replacing bulbs, and also sterilizing the needles that they use. So sometimes when they apply to central management, monies take quite a long time. They are released. So these monies that they charge the breast cancer patients are what they use to cater for those basic needs at the facility. But we have an interview with the head of the National Health Insurance Authority,
okay,
later in the evening.
Okay.
She says that these are unapproved fees which they are not supposed to charge.
Okay.
And this is not the first time that it has been brought to their attention.
Okay, Kwete, I just want to find out whether we know anything about what's going to now happen. So in the case of Korle Bu, for example, you indicate they said it was a miscommunication or a gap in communication. Do we know after that whether that communication gap has been fixed and whether the people who pay this money will have some sort of refund? Is there any development in that area?
So when I spoke to Dr. Yani about 3 weeks ago, that's when he gave me the explanation that there was a gap in communication. So last week, what I did was that before airing the story, I contacted one of the breast cancer patients who I had been following since November. She had transitioned through the various fees that they've been charging her, and she told me that she was being charged. This time around, it wasn't the 200 cedis she was charged when I was starting the investigation. Now she's being charged 50 cedis. So I think that gap in communication has still not been addressed.
Right. So we expect to have that interview you did later this evening?
Sure.
Give us details of the timing and what to expect in that part of the investigation.
So the National Health Insurance Authority will be giving details on what they intend to do about the situation. They will be opening a probe into the issue.
Okay. Okay. Kwete, thank you for that update there. Kwete Nate is a member of the investigative desk here at JoyNews, bringing us that. You want to look out for that interview with the National Health Insurance. Very important that people who are afflicted, if you like, with breast cancer don't have to go through that torture.
Well, definitely. But we also have to run this by you because the National Service Scheme has begun processing prospective national service personnel for deployment for various sectors across Ghana. Now, MMDAs, ministries, departments and agencies, educational institutions, hospitals, security agencies and private corporate organizations that are interested in hosting service personnel in the 2020-2021 service year should make sure they put in a formal request to the Secretariat. User agencies should also log on to the National Service Scheme website to submit requests for personnel. Also, make sure that when you're doing that, you're attaching names, email addresses, and contact numbers of 2 officials to that request. Agencies with special needs, though, should contact the headquarters of the Secretariat for specialized discussions. All these requests must reach the National Service Scheme head office by the 30th of this month, June 2020. And for further inquiries, make sure you visit their website, www.nss.gov.gh. National Service, service to the nation. Well, Gifty.
All right, so we're going to take a very quick break. When we return, we have a one-on-one interview with the Regional Maritime Authority. Like Roland said earlier in the show, there are several accidents that have occurred in the Volta Lake because of these tree stumps that are in there. So they've embarked on this project to remove these tree stumps. What is the extent of work done? What are the expected outcomes? We'll be talking to Thomas Kofi Alonso. He's the Director General of the Ghana Maritime Authority when we return from this break.